Her thumb hovered over the screen for half a second longer than it should have. Zarai Cole blinked at her phone, rereading the message she had just sent. The words were still there. Long. Angry. Final. I know you cheated. Don't deny it again. I'm done waiting for honesty you don't have. Lose my number. This is over. She had typed it with shaking hands, with anger and humiliation still clinging to her chest. A drunk kind of courage, the kind that felt good for exactly 5 minutes. Except she hadn't sent it to her cheating ex. She had sent it to a number she didn't recognize. Her stomach dropped so hard she felt dizzy. The contact name at the top of the screen wasn't Miles. It was an unsaved number. "Oh my God," she whispered, already swiping upward, already hoping she could somehow pull the message back. Her fingers moved too fast, then froze. There was no undo, no mercy, just the quiet glow of the screen and the sound of her own breathing getting shallow. She stared at the number like it might explain itself. Unknown contact, no photo, no name. "Please tell me you didn't just do that," she muttered to herself. Zarai squeezed her eyes shut. "Please don't respond. Please don't respond." The phone buzzed in her hand. She flinched so hard she almost dropped it. A reply. Already. Before she could stop herself, she opened it. She didn't breathe as she read the message. "You're mine to love now." Her face burned. "Oh no. No, no, no," she muttered. Her embarrassment turned sharp, almost painful. She typed fast, panic taking over. "I'm so sorry. That wasn't meant for you. Wrong number." She stared at the screen, heart racing, waiting for the polite response she deserved. Maybe a joke, maybe silence. Instead, the 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Her phone buzzed. "Then be careful who you choose next." Zarai frowned. That wasn't rude. It wasn't flirtatious either. It was calm. Too calm. She exhaled, half, laughing at herself. Okay. Weird. But whatever. She locked her phone and slid it into her purse, telling herself she wouldn't think about it again. She did not succeed. Before she could reach her car, the phone buzzed again. She stopped walking. Slowly, she pulled it out. "Go straight home tonight. Don't stop anywhere." Her pulse skipped. Zarai looked around the empty street outside the wine bar, suddenly aware of how late it was. The city felt different when you noticed it. Quieter. Watchful. She typed, "Who is this?" The reply came immediately. Someone who doesn't like loose ends. Her chest tightened, not with fear exactly, but with a strange sense of being seen. She didn't reply. She got into her car, locked the doors, and drove straight home. Before the story goes any further, pause right here. If you were Zarai, would you keep texting? Or would you block the number immediately? Comment below. I really want to know what you would do, and if you're into forbidden romance stories, mafia bosses who fall hard, and slow burn tension that doesn't let go. Subscribe now, because this story only gets deeper from here. Zarai didn't sleep well that night. She told herself it was the wine, or the breakup, or the humiliation of accidentally sending her emotional mess to a stranger. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw the words again. Someone who doesn't like loose ends. In the morning, she checked her phone before she even got out of bed. No new messages. She told herself to be relieved. Instead, she felt oddly disappointed. The next few days passed quietly. Too quietly. Miles didn't call, didn't text, which almost hurt more than if he had tried to explain himself again. Zarai went to work, smiled when required, laughed when expected, and pretended she wasn't replaying every moment of the last year in her head. On the 3rd night, her phone buzzed while she was brushing her teeth. Unknown number. She stared at the mirror, toothpaste foam frozen at the corner of her mouth. She rinsed slowly, wiped her lips, and picked up the phone. "You got home safe that night," the message read. It wasn't a question. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. "Yes," she typed, then deleted it. "Who are you?" she typed instead. The reply took longer this time. "My name is Seojun." The name sat heavy in her chest. She couldn't explain why. "Why are you texting me?" she asked. Another pause. "Because you sounded like someone who was done lying to herself." Zarai swallowed. "That's not fair," she murmured to the empty bathroom. She locked her phone without replying. He didn't text again that night. But 2 days later, Zarai felt it. The sense of being watched came over her while she was closing up the low-light wine room after her shift. It wasn't dramatic. No footsteps. No shadow moving where it shouldn't. Just an awareness, sudden and sharp. She looked up. Across the street, a man stood near a black sedan. He wasn't staring at her phone, or smoking, or talking to anyone. He was simply there. Hands in his coat pockets. Posture relaxed. Eyes on the door. On her. Their gazes met. He didn't smile. He didn't look away either. Her phone buzzed. She didn't have to look to know who it was from. You should lock up faster. This area isn't forgiving after dark. Her breath caught. She typed with shaking fingers. "Are you outside right now?" he answered. "Yes." Fear finally touched her then. Light, but unmistakable. "That's not okay," she wrote. "You can't just watch people." Across the street, the man stepped forward, just once, into better light. He raised his phone slightly, as if acknowledging her message. Then her phone buzzed again. "I didn't follow you," Seojun texted. "You work late." "I noticed." That was somehow worse. Zarai finished locking the door, her movements stiff and careful. She walked toward her car without breaking eye contact with him. He didn't move to stop her, didn't approach, didn't. When she unlocked her car, he finally spoke. Not loudly, not aggressively. "Zarai." Her heart slammed against her ribs. She turned. Up close, he was younger than she expected. Early 30s, maybe. Well-dressed, clean-cut, with an accent she couldn't place, but immediately recognized as Korean. His voice was low, steady, controlled. "You shouldn't be afraid," he said. "I warned you first." "That doesn't make this okay," she replied, hugging her coat tighter around herself. "You don't get to decide what's safe for me." His eyes softened slightly. "I didn't decide," he said. "Someone else did. I'm just telling you." Her phone buzzed again. A new message, from Miles. "We need to talk. Tonight." Zarai looked down at the screen, then back up at Seojun. He followed her gaze without asking. When he looked back at her, his expression had changed. Not anger. Certainty. "That man," he said quietly, "is the reason I texted you back." Her stomach twisted. "What do you mean?" she asked. Seojun took a step closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, subtle and expensive. "I mean," he said, "you're not as free as you think you are." Her phone buzzed again. Another text from Miles. "Don't ignore me." Zarai looked between the man in front of her and the phone in her hand, suddenly aware that whatever mistake she had made that night, it hadn't ended with a text. It had just started. And somewhere deep down, she knew this wasn't a story she could walk away from anymore. Zarai didn't answer Miles. She slipped her phone back into her coat pocket and looked at Seojun instead. "You said you were just warning me," she said. "This feels like more than that." "It is," he replied, "but I won't force anything." "That's funny," she said quietly, "because everything about you feels like pressure." A corner of his mouth lifted, not quite a smile. "That's because you're standing too close to the truth." She shook her head and turned toward her car. "I don't know you." "No," Seojun agreed, "but I know him." She paused, keys still in her hand. Seojun didn't move closer. He didn't reach for her. He spoke like a man who understood timing. Miles Carter owes money, he said. Not to people who send reminders. Zaria laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. That's not possible. He works in marketing. He complains about rent. He also moves things for people who don't like their names attached, Seojun replied. Introductions, storage, silence. Her laughter faded. That's not, she started, then stopped. Memories surfaced. Miles taking calls in other rooms. The way he never explained certain trips. The sudden gifts that didn't fit his budget. You're lying, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Seojun studied her face carefully, as if gauging how much truth she could handle. I don't gain anything by frightening you. Then why are you here? Because when he realized you were leaving, Seojun said, he mentioned your name. The air felt heavier. In what way? She asked. As leverage. Zaria's chest tightened. You're saying he put me in danger. I'm saying, Seojun corrected gently, that you were already there. He just forgot to warn you. She stared at him, trying to decide if fear or anger was stronger. Anger won. You don't get to scare me like this and expect me to trust you, she said. You watched me. You texted me. You show up and tell me my life is at risk like it's casual. Seojun nodded slowly. That's fair. He stepped back, giving her space. I won't ask you to come with me, he said. Tonight at least. But you shouldn't go to him. That's not your choice. No, he agreed. It's yours. Her phone buzzed again. Miles. Where are you? Zaria looked at the message, then typed back before she could overthink it. I need space. 3 dots appeared instantly. Miles, don't do this. You're overreacting. Seojun watched her without reading her screen. I can take you home, he said, or you can drive yourself. Either way, I'll make sure you get there. That sounds like following, she snapped. It sounds like courtesy, he replied evenly. But again, your choice. She hesitated, then opened her car door. I'll drive. He nodded. I'll be behind you. She almost argued, almost told him to leave her alone. Instead, she got in the car. She hated herself a little for how relieved she felt when she saw the black sedan in her rearview mirror the entire drive home. Zaria barely slept. She kept replaying the conversation, searching for lies, exaggerations, signs of manipulation. But Seojun hadn't tried to charm her. He hadn't flirted. He hadn't touched her. He had simply stayed. The next morning, her phone buzzed with a message she hadn't expected. Seojun, I won't come by today. She stared at the screen, confused. Another message followed. You should feel normal sometimes. That made her laugh despite herself. She didn't reply. She spent the day restless, checking her phone more often than she wanted to admit. Miles called twice. She ignored both. That evening, as she locked her apartment door, she noticed something off. Her mat was crooked. She stood still, heart pounding, eyes scanning the hallway. Nothing looked broken. The lock was intact. Slowly, she pushed the door open. Nothing was missing. But someone had been there. Her drawers were slightly open. Her bedroom closet door wasn't fully shut. It wasn't a robbery, it was a search. Her phone slipped in her sweaty grip as she typed. Someone was in my apartment. The reply came instantly. Are you alone? Yes. Stay there. Don't touch anything. Her chest tightened. I don't want to stay here. I know, Seojun replied. I'm on my way. Minutes later, the black sedan pulled up outside her building. This time, she didn't argue. She followed him to the Meridian Tower in silence. The penthouse was nothing like she expected. No dark leather. No cold marble intimidation. It was warm, quiet, almost understated. You can leave whenever you want, Seojun said as she stood just inside the door. There are no locks you don't control. She looked at him skeptically. I mean it, he said. I don't cage people. That night, they sat across from each other at the kitchen counter, like two people pretending this wasn't strange. You could have blocked me, he said at one point. I thought about it, she admitted. Why didn't you? She hesitated. Because you didn't talk to me like I was fragile. His gaze softened. That's because you aren't. Their eyes held for a moment too long. If you're feeling this tension right now, tap like. It tells me you're still with us. And tell me in the comments, would you have gone with him or slept in your car instead? Later that night, as Zaria lay in the guest room, her phone buzzed again. Miles. You think you're safe without me? Her stomach turned. Another message followed. You don't know who you're dealing with. Before she could respond, a third message appeared. I know where you are. Her blood ran cold. She jumped out of bed and rushed toward the hallway. Seojun was already there, phone in hand, expression unreadable. He knows, she whispered. Seojun met her gaze, calm but serious. Then we stop pretending this is small. Outside, lights flickered briefly across the city skyline. And for the first time since that accidental text, Zarai understood something clearly. She wasn't just choosing a man, she was choosing a side. Zarai didn't sleep in the guest room, not because Seojun asked her not to. He didn't ask her anything. He simply said, you can choose where you feel safest, and went back to the living room. She lay awake for nearly an hour, staring at the ceiling, listening to the unfamiliar quiet of the penthouse. It wasn't the kind of silence that pressed in on you. It felt deliberate, guarded, like a space designed to keep chaos out. Her phone buzzed once more. Miles, you don't disappear on me, Zaria. She turned the phone face down and sat up. She padded barefoot down the hallway and stopped at the edge of the living room. Seojun was on the couch, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, phone in his hand. He looked up immediately, like he'd been expecting her. I don't think I can be alone right now, she said. He nodded once. You don't have to be. She sat on the opposite end of the couch, leaving space between them. He didn't move closer, didn't fill the silence. After a while, she spoke. If I stay here, I need honesty. You'll have it, he said. All of it, she added. He considered her carefully. Not tonight. Her jaw tightened. Then what are we doing? Tonight, he said gently. We're letting your nervous system breathe. The way he said it, calm, deliberate, made something in her chest loosen. She leaned back against the couch. Minutes passed, then more. You didn't ask why I stayed, she said. I know why, he replied. She glanced at him. You do? You're tired of being the only one paying attention, he said. Miles liked the version of you that didn't ask questions. That hit too close. She swallowed. And you? I like the version of you that notices. Her breath caught, just slightly. They didn't touch. That was the hardest part. The next afternoon felt deceptively normal. Sunlight spilled through the tall windows of the penthouse, warm and unbothered. Zarai stood near the counter, turning a glass slowly in her hands, listening to the quiet hum of the city far below. She hadn't slept much. Neither had he. Kang Seojun was across the room, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, eyes fixed on his phone. Not scrolling, not texting. Waiting. The sound came without warning. A low chime. Not loud, not dramatic. Just wrong. Seojun's posture changed instantly. Not panic, not urgency. Focus. Stay where you are, he said calmly. Zarai frowned. What is that? Before he could answer, movement flooded the room. Men in dark clothing appeared beyond the glass walls. Security, moving fast but controlled. Voices murmured sharply through earpieces. Screens along the walls flickered to life, red indicators pulsing softly. Zarai's heart began to pound. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice thinner than she meant it to be. Seojun turned toward her, his gaze locking onto hers with sudden intensity. "Nothing you need to be afraid of," he said. That was when she knew it was something she should absolutely be afraid of. Another chime, louder this time. Lights dimmed slightly, not off, just enough to unsettle. Seojun crossed the room in 3 long strides. When the next sound hit, a sharp, metallic clang somewhere far below, he didn't hesitate. He reached for her wrist and pulled her behind him, his body positioning itself between her and the windows, without thought or flourish. One arm extended slightly, protective, absolute. "Stay close," he murmured, not looking back at her. "No matter what you hear." Her fingers curled into the back of his shirt. "Seojun," she whispered. "You said." "I know what I said," he replied quietly. "And I meant it." Movement blurred around them, guards rushing past, doors sealing, voices tightening. She couldn't see danger, couldn't name it, but she felt it pressing in, invisible and heavy. And through it all, Seojun didn't move. He stood like the calm center of something violent, circling just out of reach. Minutes passed, or seconds. Time didn't behave properly when fear crept in sideways like that. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the tension eased. Lights steadied, voices lowered. The red indicators disappeared from the screens. Seojun exhaled slowly. Only then did he turn to her. "It's over," he said. "For now." Her legs felt weak. Later, she sat on the couch, hands clasped tightly together, staring at nothing in particular. The glass she'd been holding earlier was untouched on the table in front of her. Seojun stood near the window, phone pressed to his ear, voice low and controlled. "No," he said. "Not today. Not here." He listened for a moment, jaw tightening. Then he ended the call. When he turned back to her, his expression softened. Not gentle, not apologetic. Honest. "You should be scared now," he said quietly. "Anyone who's close to me eventually is." Zarai looked up at him, her heart still racing, her voice steady despite it. "Then don't push me away," she said. "Tell me what I just walked into." He studied her for a long moment, then nodded once, and that was the moment Zarai understood. Last night's silence had been the calm before something far more dangerous. Night came softly, too softly, considering what the day had threatened to become. The penthouse was dim now, washed in warm amber light instead of the sharp brightness of afternoon. Most of the security had cleared out. The windows reflected the city instead of exposing it. Zarai sat curled into one corner of the couch, a blanket pulled loosely around her shoulders. She wasn't cold. She just needed something grounding. Kang Seojun sat across from her, jacket unbuttoned, tie discarded somewhere unseen. His sleeves were still rolled up, forearms resting on his knees, hands clasped together like he didn't trust them to stay still otherwise. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked tired, not dangerous, not untouchable, human. "You didn't run," he said quietly. She lifted her gaze to his. "I thought about it." The corner of his mouth curved, not quite a smile. "That makes you smarter than most." Silence stretched between them, not heavy this time. Thoughtful. Zarai shifted slightly. "You said I should be scared now." "Yes." "And yet," she said, choosing her words carefully, "you stayed. You didn't disappear. You didn't lock me away." His jaw tightened briefly, as if that decision had cost him something. "I don't cage people," he said. "I protect them, or I let them go." She studied his face, the way the soft light caught the planes of it, The shadows under his eyes he hadn't bothered to hide. "Which one am I?" she asked. He didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was lower than before. "That's what scares me." Her breath caught, not in fear, but in something quieter, something warmer. Seojun leaned back slightly, running a hand through his hair, gaze dropping to the floor. "Most people only see the version of me that keeps them alive," he said. "They don't ask questions. They don't stay after alarms go off." She leaned forward just a little. "And if I stay?" His eyes lifted to hers. "Then I won't lie to you," he said, "but I won't soften the truth either." The city hummed outside, distant and indifferent. Zarai nodded slowly. "I can handle truth." Seojun exhaled, something easing in his chest. "Then sit closer," he said quietly, "and listen." She moved toward him, not touching, just close enough to feel the warmth of him beside her. For the first time since the message that changed everything, he wasn't guarding the room. He was guarding her. Over the next few days, Zaria stayed at the Meridian Tower. She went to work. She answered texts from friends with half-truths. She avoided Miles completely, and Seojun stayed. Consistent. He didn't hover. He didn't demand updates. He didn't invade her space. But he was always there. Some mornings, she found coffee, waiting on the counter. Some evenings, they ate together in comfortable silence. Sometimes they talked until midnight about nothing important, music, childhood memories, the places they wanted to visit, but never had. It felt normal, and that terrified her. One evening, she finally asked, "Why me?" Seojun looked at her over the rim of his glass. "You don't hide when you're uncomfortable. That doesn't sound special." "It is," he said. "Most people disappear into politeness." She hesitated. "And what happens when I'm inconvenient?" He didn't answer immediately. "When that happens," he said carefully, "I don't lie about it." That honesty made her chest ache. Zaria was folding laundry when she noticed the change. The guards outside the penthouse doubled. Seojun's phone buzzed more often. His voice dropped when he spoke Korean, words sharp and clipped. "Is something wrong?" she asked. "Yes," he said. Then, after a pause, "But it's contained." That night, she heard raised voices for the first time, not yelling, controlled anger. She stood at the edge of the hallway, heart pounding. Seojun turned the corner and stopped when he saw her. "Go back to the bedroom," he said. "No," she replied. "I want to know." He studied her face, then nodded once. "All right." He told her about Chairman Han Kyung, about old alliances, broken promises, and about Miles, how he'd tried to sell information he didn't fully understand. He thought he was clever, Seojun said. He wasn't. Zaria's stomach twisted. "And now?" "And now," Seojun said, "you are the leverage he can't afford to lose." That night, Zaria cried quietly in the bathroom, overwhelmed not by fear, but by the realization that she couldn't go back to who she was before. Halfway through this story, if you're still here, tap like right now. And if you're feeling the pull between danger and comfort, comment one word that describes it. Don't forget to subscribe. This story hasn't even reached its turning point yet. Seojun stood in front of her the next evening, his expression more open than she'd ever seen it. "You need to decide something," he said. Her chest tightened. "About what?" "About us," he replied. "Because I won't blur lines with you unless you're choosing me with clear eyes." Her heart raced. "Are you saying you want me to leave?" "I'm saying," he said, stepping closer but not touching her, "that I don't take what isn't offered." She searched his face. "And if I stay? Then it stops being temporary." She laughed softly, nerves fraying. "You make love sound like a contract." It is, he said quietly. Just not the kind people sign with ink. She thought of Miles, of half-truths and gaslighting, of how small she'd made herself to keep peace. I'm staying, she said. Something shifted in Seojun's gaze. Relief, maybe, or something more dangerous. Their first kiss was slow, not hungry, not rushed, like both of them were confirming something they already knew. Later, when she lay beside him, head resting against his chest, she realized something unsettling. She trusted him. Zarai awoke to the sound of Seojun's phone vibrating violently against the nightstand. He answered it instantly, his body going rigid. Yes, he said in Korean, then paused. Send it to me. He ended the call and sat up. What is it? She asked, dread creeping in. He hesitated, then handed her the phone. It was a video. Grainy. Dark. A man knelt on the floor, hands bound, his face bruised but recognizable. Chairman Han Ki-young. The camera shifted. Seojun stood in frame. Calm. Unflinching. The video ended before anything else happened. Zarai stared at the black screen, her hands shaking. She looked up at the man beside her, the man she had just chosen. That's you. She whispered. Seojun didn't deny it. I told you I wouldn't lie, he said. Her chest felt too tight to breathe. And in that moment, Zarai realized love wasn't the question anymore. The question was whether she could live with the truth. Zarai didn't scream. She didn't cry. She handed the phone back to Seojun like it had burned her and stood up slowly, every movement careful, controlled. That's who you are, she said, more statement than question. Seojun rose with her, his voice steady but low. That's part of who I am. She shook her head, backing away. You let me sleep next to you knowing that. I let you choose me knowing that, he corrected. I didn't hide it. You didn't tell me, she shot back. No, he said. Because if I had, you would have been deciding from fear. And I needed you to decide from truth. Her laugh broke, sharp and humorless. That's not your call to make. I know, he said quietly. That's why I'm not stopping you now. She stared at him, chest heaving. You really think that makes this better? No, he admitted. I think it makes it honest. Zarai turned away before he could see her face crumble. She went to the bedroom and started throwing clothes into her bag. Her hand shook so badly she dropped her phone twice. Seojun appeared in the doorway but didn't step inside. If you leave, he said carefully, Miles will come for you. She froze. That sounds like a threat. It's a warning, he replied. The difference matters. She zipped the bag hard. I don't care. I can't be here. I can't. Her voice cracked. I can't love someone who does that. His jaw tightened. You think loving me makes you complicit? I think staying makes me disappear, she whispered. Silence stretched between them. Then he nodded once. I'll have someone take you wherever you want, he said. No tracking. No conditions. That almost hurt more. She left without looking back. The world felt too loud outside the Meridian Tower. Zarai checked into a small hotel across town under a fake name she barely remembered giving. She sat on the edge of the bed for a long time, staring at the wall, trying to convince herself she'd done the right thing. Her phone buzzed. Miles. I heard you left him. Her stomach dropped. You shouldn't be alone right now, he continued. I can come get you. Her hands trembled as she typed. How do you know where I am? The reply came fast. You think Seojun is the only one with reach? Fear finally settled in her bones. Miles arrived an hour later, smiling like nothing had changed. Z, he said softly, pulling her into a hug she didn't return. I was so worried. She stepped back immediately. Don't. He raised his hands in surrender. Okay, okay. I just want to talk. They sat across from each other in the hotel room. The air felt wrong, thinner, almost sharp. You really got involved with him, Miles said, shaking his head. I warned you he was dangerous. You warned me? She snapped. You used me. He leaned forward. I protected you. That's not protection, she said. That's manipulation. His expression hardened. You don't understand how this world works. I understand enough, she replied. You put a target on my back. Miles sighed, like she was exhausting him. You were already near the fire. I just underestimated how fast it would spread. Her phone buzzed on the bed. Seojun. She ignored it. Miles noticed. He won't stop, he said. Men like him never do. You sound jealous, she said flatly. His jaw clenched. I sound realistic. Zarai awoke to shouting in the hallway. Doors slammed. Heavy footsteps. Miles shot up from the chair he'd fallen asleep in. What's going on? She whispered. He looked at his phone. Face, draining of color. They found us, he said. Her heart slammed. Who? Before he could answer, the door burst open. Men flooded the room, not Seojun's men. Chairman Hans. Zarai screamed as she was pulled away from Miles, her phone skidding across the floor. Miles shouted her name, panic naked on his face. A gun cocked. Then a familiar voice cut through the chaos. Enough. The room went still. Seojun stepped inside, calm as ever, eyes locked on the men holding Zarai. Let her go, he said. One of the men laughed nervously. Orders came from above. Seojun's gaze hardened. Those orders have been revoked. A beat of silence. Then, slowly, they released her. Zarai ran straight into Seojun's chest before she could stop herself. His arms came up automatically, holding her just long enough to steady her. He didn't say I told you so. He didn't say I warned you. He only said softly, You're shaking. Miles stared between them, realization dawning too late. You chose him, he said bitterly. Zarai looked at Miles, then at Seojun. No, she said. I chose myself. Miles was arrested that night. As they led him away, he turned back to her, eyes wild. This isn't over. The hotel room fell silent. Zarai pulled away from Seojun, her hand still trembling. You came, she said. I always would, he replied. She swallowed. Even after I left? Especially after, he said. She didn't know whether to cry or laugh. If this moment has you holding your breath, tap like right now. And tell me, would you have gone back with Seojun or kept running? Subscribe if you want the ending, because this love still has one last test. They returned to the Meridian Tower just before dawn. As the sun rose over the city, Zarai stood at the window, wrapped in one of Seojun's coats. I don't know if I can live in your world, she said quietly. He joined her, leaving space between them. Then, don't. She turned. What? Let me live in yours, he said, as much as I can. Her chest ached. That's not how this works. It can be, he said, if you choose it. The next morning her phone buzzed again. An unknown number, a video attachment. Her blood ran cold. She opened it. The screen filled with an image that made her knees weaken. Seojun, on his knees this time, bound, beaten. A voice spoke off camera. Choose carefully, Zarai, because love has consequences. She screamed his name. The screen went black. Zarai didn't remember grabbing her shoes. She didn't remember the elevator ride down, or the way her hand shook so badly she dropped her phone twice while trying to call him back. All she remembered was the image burned into her mind. Seojun, on his knees, blood at his temple. Calm even then. This is my fault, she whispered, her chest tightening until it hurt to breathe. This is my fault. The guards moved fast, voices low. phones ringing all at once. Zarai stood frozen in the middle of the penthouse, wrapped in his coat like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Where would they take him? She demanded. No one answered her directly. He knew this was possible, one of the men said carefully. That's why he kept you away from it. That's not enough, she snapped. That doesn't fix this. Her phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. A message this time. You wanted honesty. Here it is. Leave him, and he lives. Her vision blurred. Another message followed. Come alone. Zarai didn't think. She typed back with steady fingers, surprising even herself. Where? The reply came with an address, an old warehouse near the harbor. She turned toward the door. No, one of the guards said sharply. You can't. Yes, she said, her voice calm in a way that felt unreal. I can. The drive felt endless. Zarai parked a block away and walked the rest of the distance, every step echoing too loudly in her ears. The warehouse loomed ahead, dark and quiet, like it had been waiting. Inside, the air smelled like metal and salt. Seojun was exactly where the video had shown him, on his knees, hands bound, blood drying along his jaw. Her heart broke at the sight of him. Zarai, he said softly, like he hadn't expected her to come but wasn't surprised that she did. You shouldn't be here. She rushed forward before anyone could stop her. Let him go, she said, her voice shaking but strong. This was never about me. This is between you and him. A man stepped out of the shadows, older, smiling. Everything is about you, he said. You just didn't know it. Zarai swallowed hard. If you want leverage, take me. Seojun lifted his head sharply. No. She turned to him, tears spilling freely now. I'm done running, she whispered. I won't let you pay for my fear. He shook his head, strain finally cracking, his control. You don't understand what you're offering. I do, she said, and I choose it. The man laughed. Beautiful. The gun raised. Then everything happened at once. The lights cut out. Gunshots echoed. Shouts filled the space. Zarai screamed Seojun's name as she was pulled backward, and then his arms were around her. Stay behind me, he ordered, voice sharp. Alive. Alive. She clung to him as chaos unfolded around them. His men moved like shadows, precise and fast. Within minutes it was over. The man who had threatened her lay on the floor, unmoving. Silence fell. Zarai collapsed against Seojun, sobbing openly now. I thought I lost you. He held her tightly, his own breath uneven. I told you, he murmured into her hair. I don't disappear. They left before dawn. The city looked different as the sun rose, softer, quieter, like it was giving them space to breathe. Weeks passed. Miles was officially charged. The threats stopped. The world didn't magically become safe, but it became manageable. One evening, Zarai stood on the balcony of the Meridian Tower, watching the lights below. I don't want to be a secret, she said. Seojun joined her. You're not. I don't want to be protected like I'm fragile. You aren't, he said. You're protected because you matter. She turned to face him. And if I choose a life that scares you? A small smile touched his lips. Then I'll learn how to live with fear. She stepped closer, resting her forehead against his chest. I love you, she said quietly. His arms tightened around her. I loved you the moment you didn't block my number, he replied. Months later, they still lived at the Meridian Tower, not because she was trapped, but because she chose to stay. The danger hadn't vanished, but neither had the love. And Zarai understood something now. Some stories don't begin with safety. They begin with choice. If this story stayed with you, if it made you feel something, don't let it end here. Like this video. Share it with someone who loves forbidden romance. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay. Because the next story might be even darker and even harder to leave. And tell me in the comments, would you have answered that first text? Because sometimes, one message is all it takes.